And welcome back to Adobe Live from OFFF in Barcelona. And for the next 25 minutes, I'm here with Andy Cruz from House. Hey, Andy.
Hey,
welcome to Adobe Live.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and like we've just been discussing, it's been a long time since we were here in Barcelona live. And hey, yes, hello everyone. And everybody's in the chat is surprised to see me. Yes, I do exist. I'm still here on Adobe Live. And so, Andy, let's get right into it.
Yeah.
What exactly is it that you do, and who are you? What is your, your mission on this planet?
It's a big one. Before we get to the mission, we'll start with the House Industries bit. We started in '93 as a design studio, thinking, oh, this graphic design thing seems like a lot of fun. We love drawing. Then we realized sometimes clients are a little bit of a pain in the ass, and we should probably have a product to sell versus a service. So early '90s, we could easily access software to make our own fonts, and we thought, we do a lot of hand lettering, we do a lot of illustration, so let's see if other creatives might want to use our lettering or illustration. So I think we did 12 fonts in '93, '94.
Wow.
And the first knock on the door we got was Warner Brothers Records. They just signed this band called Green Day. Dating myself.
Right. Okay.
And they wanted one of the fonts that we drew out, and the art director said, "Can you overnight me these fonts?" And I was like, "Oh shit! We only drew enough characters to spell the name. We didn't even have the fonts."
Font, yeah.
So she was super cool about it. She's like, "As soon as they're done, send them to me." And since then, we've kind of been doing the same thing. Cook up a stupid idea and see if anyone else likes it.
So fonts.
Fonts are a cornerstone, but our design ADD kicks in, and we get easily distracted and want to figure out a way to market the fonts or make an object out of the fonts, make furniture, make toys, but the fonts are always kind of like the golden thread, if you will, of a lot of our projects.
Do you want to elaborate a little bit on how much effort it takes to make a font? Because, there's so many people that just, it's just a font.
Oh, no, it's a pain in the ass. Shit, I mean, I got tired of doing it in the early '90s, so I get people that can do it better than I can now.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's pretty gnarly. But I think, again, we got in at the right time, and we're fortunate enough to work with, now some of the icons, Christian Schwartz, Eric von Blochlin of the type world. But when we were all youngsters back then, it was just like, hey, this seems like fun.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that we still try to come back to. Like, are we having fun doing this?
Yeah.
Because as soon as it starts to feel like work, it shows.
Well, and I think that's a super important point, is that the fun part of everything that we do. Like when there's no fun, well, maybe it's the wrong job.
Oh,
right?
yeah, completely.
Maybe there's something else that we can do. And just remember that if you have any questions for Andy, put them here in the chat, and I will try to catch them and ask the questions. All right, so let's talk a little bit about your studio, House Industries, yeah, and maybe if you want to show us some of the work that you do, and maybe starting from something old and then something new. Maybe if there's still something from the history on the website, or.
Well, okay. Well, let's start with old. I think if we go, there should be the house book. This kind of captures 25 years of House Industries. And we had our friend J.J. Abrams, the director, write the foreword. He's been a loyal customer and advocate of House for years. But this kind of takes you through not only our process, some of our favorite projects, whether it's working with Alexander Gerard or doing a logo for Hermes. But we really use this opportunity to figure out, okay, what is it that, whether it's an old project or a new project, really gets us excited about design. And obviously the type is a big part of it, but like when we collaborated with the Eames office, for example, obviously we designed a typeface family, but we were also excited about printing on Eames furniture, making giant house of cards out of the same plywood that they use to make furniture, and then taking it to, I think I have some other shots of the Eames stuff. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot I was in the book section. But then we get guys like Aaron Draplin. This is a great scenario. Draplin visited us in Delaware. I think he was maybe just finishing college, doing one of his first road trips, pre-beard. And he just happened to come by when we finished up the book, and I was like, all right, act like you're interested in House still. But yeah, I mean, the book really kind of takes you through everything from the hot rods to the modernism to illustration process. This is Chris Gardner, one of our illustrators that actually came from the comic book world, that helped us with a lot of our pen and ink work. So if...
is this book still available? Can you find it?
I believe, yes.
Yeah?
You can buy it from us, but...
on your website.
I hear you can get it cheaper on Amazon. So
okay, buy it from them.
You don't want to, but you don't want to pay our shipping.
That's right. Yeah, and then customs and all of that.
Exactly, exactly. One of our recent projects, the City of Los Angeles called and wanted a rebrand, and the irony of this project was. We're from Delaware, east coast of the U.S., and they said, well, you're not from Los Angeles, but we really want you guys to do the logo. Is there an artist or is there someone you could collaborate with once it's done? So I called my friend Shepard Ferry, and I was like, hey, Shep, we're going to do this project. If it goes through, you cool with doing like a mural project, some kind of collab? He's like, hell yeah, let's figure it out. And then I get a call back from Shepard like 2 hours later, and he's like, dude, I just got yelled at by my staff because we're bidding on the same project to do the logo with you. And I'm like,
no, God.
So I said, screw it. You know what?
Yeah.
Let's just split the money. Not that it was that much money, but it's too cool of an opportunity. Let's just go ahead and do something like that together. So we ended up doing the logo, and then ended up doing a collaboration with Shepard and the City of Los Angeles and his Obey line. So not only the logo, they used it for tourism and what have you, but the clothing collection ended up being this nice little capsule where we also did logos and illustrations for each little, town, if you will, in LA. And then all the proceeds ended up going towards, supporting homeless.
I gotta say, this really feels like Los Angeles. So. And that's a good point, right? If there's something that you don't feel or that you don't completely comprehend, right? Or get help. like try to collaborate.
And again, it was one of those things where, Shepard's not originally from Los Angeles. Obviously, we're not.
Yeah.
But we kind of grew up at a time where all of our cultural influence, 9 times out of 10, it was coming from Southern California. Whether it was surf, skate culture, the movie industry. The fashion industry, and even once we got past
David
the 80s,
Carson.
Yeah,
was all there, yeah.
So, but yeah, I think that was probably one of our latest, and then, we still do commercial work now and then, and I think if this will load up here. The Ford Motor Company was relaunching their Ford GT supercar, and rather than use a typeface that was designed by a European. They said since this was so American, they wanted something that was reflective of that for all the digital display. So
NASCAR kind of thing.
yeah, but a little more, dare I say, militaristic.
Okay.
Because from the engineering standpoint, it was super stripped down. Like the original GT cars were bare bones, just like full engineering, very minimal. And they really wanted to capture that. And our United typeface was really based on, again, true utility. Like if it works for the military, chances are it's designed well, it's going to function. And that really resonated with Ford. So what they did was they ended up using that font for all the gauges and what have you.
It also looks very engineeristic, like like a blueprint or something. Yeah.
But that's the irony. It's like when you're doing this sort of font design, and this is Tal Lemming, who's again another font master of our age. He did a really good job of fooling our eye. You think it's just 45-degree angles and straight lines, but when you really zoom in on some of that stuff, there's subtle little ink traps here and there again to fake you.
Yeah, and just looking at the font, when you guys develop a font or like a system, do you also go into the depth of making the ligatures or the alternate fonts and all of these things?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, there is a reality where, like when we first started, we didn't even have kerning in our fonts because we made the assumption that designers were type sensitive and would, a lot of our stuff was very display oriented. So we thought they would go in there and massage it.
And then they wouldn't.
And we realized, fucking designers are lazy. Like, we got to program this shit in. So, so yeah, we learned the hard way that you gotta give it a hug and make sure you get the right talent behind.
There's a question from Stuart here. If Andy could do any project, what would his perfect bucket list project be?
Wow. I'm not gonna lie, and maybe because I'm old, a lot of the bucket list projects, whether it's working with the Eames family, I mentioned the Hermes stuff.
Done.
We're at that point now where we're really trying to kind of come back and focus on our brand more, because I think that's really where we had the most fulfillment. It was more about, a lot of these dream projects came because we were fortunate enough to take the risks on our own stuff, and that attracted the cool clients. Someone asked me this in my off speak a little earlier about that dream client, and to me it's kind of like a job interview. It's like you can put on your fake suit for that job you really don't want, or you can be yourself and get the job you want. So it's like dress for the job you want, not the one you have. And I'm trying to
gazillion stories like be who you are, and what you want will somehow happen. You were mentioning another project that you were going to show me before I asked you the question. I kind of
no. I think we squared it. I don't. I don't think there's anything else too recent on here.
Pardon?
Unfortunately, all the recent stuff, you get like these ridiculous. You spend too much time on the contracts and it's a top secret and non-disclosure, and it's just like it's fucking graphic design. Like we're not hiding secrets. Unfortunately, that's the reality.
And so let's talk a little bit about the process, and so of course, as time goes by, you attract clients because of the work that you've done in time, and when they come to you, what do they expect from you? Do they come with a lot of questions, or do they say, "Hey, Andy, do your thing"?
It's taken us a while, but I think we've gotten to that point where we're getting that do your thing. And again, I think this points back to the one question that came in about the dream jobs, winning the faith and the trust for people to say, the reason we're calling you is because we saw this, that, or the other. Yes, we'd love you to do something like that for us, but I think it's, when that relationship goes to the level of like, we trust you to the point where our brand is our baby. Will you treat it with white gloves?
Yeah.
And I always throw it back to them. I was like, if I do this right, I want to brag about it probably more than you will. So we kind of take it personally. And I think, like when the New Yorker, if this will load, the New Yorker, when they decided to make the big transition to go full digital from print, I mean, they're obviously one of the most respected print publications in the U.S. But when they wanted us, this was like, I think it was 2014 maybe, we finally ended up doing this. They said, we need you to take some of our, legacy lettering, bring that into a digital format that we can use on all our platforms. But if you guys...
there we go, the alternates.
Exactly. But if you guys fuck this up, our readership, they're going to be pissed.
Yeah.
And we can't have that. We're not going to take that risk.
Because it's like fandom, right? It's,
exactly. They're going to see through all your horseshit talk about, look at the geometry with the logo. It's like, they don't give a shit about that. Where, again, we wanted to capture not only the spirit of what we knew about the New Yorker from a print perspective, typographically, but again, make that work for the designers in their current format, and then even do support faces where they took our Neutra, but they wanted us to customize it just a little bit. And Wyatt, who at the time was the creative director, I think he's at Apple now. He was the guy that really kind of came in, like you said, with we want you to do your thing, bring that, come heavy, but know that there are constraints.
So a lot of our the people who are watching us from the audience, maybe they're starting their business or they're starting their career. And do you have some advice maybe that you can give to people starting out? How to maybe some things you learn from mistakes or like.
Yeah, I know it's cliche, but the fake it till you make it. That, like I said earlier, I don't know if you caught that, but when we did our first marketing piece for our fonts, we didn't even have fonts. It was more just a little test to see if there's a market for our work. And I know that applies for illustrators, it applies for, students. I've seen students, show me their portfolio work, and they'll start making excuses like, oh, this is the project, and then they show something personal, and I'm like, I want to see more of this.
Yeah.
This is way more interesting than that horseshit project that you had to do. Don't feel like, I'm not your teacher, I'm not grading you. I want to
I might give you a job.
I'll give exactly. It's like the job is going to be the one that where I can see you're gonna really crank it out and not feel like, oh, okay, these are the rules and this is what I had to use. This is the color palette. To me, that's
the Swiss do it that way, and
And there is a time to do it. It's taken me a while to really appreciate, the rules and the grids and all that fun stuff. But again, it's especially this day and age. It's so noisy, and there's so many people that have access to the same tools you do. What are you gonna bring to the party that's gonna get people excited?
And basically, what you bring to the party is you. Right.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day,
And this is something that I always say about also making your portfolios and preparing your work is be focused on something you love doing, because if you show things that you didn't like doing, maybe somebody will hire you to do those. And
we do that. Like sometimes when we present artwork, Ken and I always have this like, oh, we're not going to show the ones that we're not 100% on, because 9 times out of 10, that's the one they pick. And we're just like, fuck, why did we show that one? Why did we show that?
It happens all the time. And maybe also, because, so you started your business, you said you fake it till you make it, right? Like make a brochure of something that wasn't really existing at the time. And I think that's really cool. But then how long did it take you to actually stop faking it and making it?
Well, again, there's that notion of prototyping. We won't call it faking. Prototyping. There is a business reality to that, where you've got to still promote that to the right audience. And obviously, I'd feel like your dad up here preaching, the power of, doing it socially. But I'll be honest with you, when I get something tactile and tangible, if that's what you want to do, if you can deliver that feeling to someone, print is still very valid, even though it's digital.
Yeah, I mean, this is stuff, right? You can touch it. And one thing that we're going to almost have to close, but maybe one last thought about, how was the feeling when you had the big first client that gave you like his trust or her trust?
Oh, it was, ironically, it was Major League Baseball. And they had seen some of our...
Do you like baseball?
No, not really. No. But Rich and I we were working at his apartment, and these fancy executives from the Major League Baseball in New York, they're like, hey, we want to come down to your studio. We're like, oh shit, we had to go out and buy furniture and like clean the place up. And they came down and they said, hey, we want you guys to not only do a little branding brochure, a style guide, and then they're like, okay, are we done? We got to go because we came down because there's a bunch of cool museums in Delaware. We're being, polite tourists. But no, it was that shot in the arm to be like, okay.
Yeah, this is it.
This could be real.
It's happening. All right, Andy. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having
me. And well, thank you for being here. And we will be back in 5 minutes for a session about pixel art with Olivier Huard from France. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.